And well, over to the United States now, and authorities are on the search for the wreckage of a spy balloon that was shot down yesterday. Let's bring in the political analyst, Republican strategist, John Jordan. John, good to see you. Thanks for your time. So let's start off with the actual taking down of this thing. Do you think it was too late, or was it right to bring it down over water?
There's a lot we don't know here. And yeah, I'm a Republican strategist and all that, but I'm also trying to comment on these things objectively. So I'm not sure the criticism from the Republican side that it was too soon, that they waited too long, is necessarily right. I think a lot of facts have to come to light. I don't think the excuse that people are going to get hit on the ground was quite the reason either. I think there's some other intelligence reason why they let it wait for a little longer. It did crash in the water, and they will get pieces of it. But there's a lot more to the story, and I'm hesitant to rush to judgment here and be unfair to the Biden administration until more facts come to light.
Okay, well, the Biden administration reckons that there's a fairly good chance that this would have happened during the Trump administration, which he's denied this morning. But how likely do you think that was?
Oh, it's unknown, really. I mean, anything is embarrassing to the Democrats or the Biden administration. Their reflexive action is always to say, but it happened to Trump too, or Trump did this, that, or the other thing. They just can't get Trump out of their system. The facts are that looks like there's another balloon, and there was another balloon right now, and there was another balloon 3 or 4 months ago that crashed off Hawaii. Whether or not there was one, 3 or more years ago remains to be seen. But right now, this is the balloons that we have, and the White House and the Biden administration, in fairness, did try to cover this up, keep the public from knowing about it. So whatever they accuse Trump of, at best, they're guilty of the same thing.
I mean, obviously this is not new. It's been happening for a while now. What sort of information, what sort of intelligence gathering are these spy balloons able to pick up from way, way up there?
Okay, that is a fantastic question that I wish would be asked on American news networks. Okay, right now we rely on satellites, as do the Chinese, but the satellites are on a fixed orbit. I mean, everybody knows where they're going to come over and precisely what their track is. Balloons, however, and these balloons apparently can maneuver and be controlled, can loiter over a target. They can get photographs from different angles and maneuver around. So they're not just, whizzing by at 20,000 miles an hour on a set schedule. So they can loiter, they can get different pictures. They can also gather what's called signals intelligence, which is electronic emanations from anything they choose to be observing. So it's a different tool with a different set of advantages and disadvantages than satellites.
So, I mean, and presumably once the parts or the debris or the wreckage or whatever's left of it is found, how much of an intelligence gathering goldmine could that be for American authorities?
Well, it depends on the wreckage that's gathered, and it looks like it was shot down over fairly shallow water, so that shouldn't be a problem, but it is going to be widely dispersed. So it'll be a pretty good-sized effort to gather it. Now, you'd think that the Chinese, when they made these balloons and sent them over, that they were cautious about what they put in there, and that they really built these balloons with the assumption that one or more would fall into the hands of American intelligence. So I think that the Chinese have probably limited their exposure to that when they conceived of this program.
So, I mean, would there be there would have to be some kind of chip in there, computer chips. Would they show what kind of images, what photographs had been taken, or would that have kind of been sent back to like a central database in China?
Presumably, it depends on the nature of the data collection that they were doing, if it was instantaneously retransmitted or if it was cached and then transmitted later. So we're going to learn something about Chinese intelligence collection efforts, but I think the Chinese were probably pretty cautious about what they put in there.
What do you make of the response from China that it was purely to monitor weather and such things?
Well, we're going to find out, because one way or another, that answer should be answered conclusively. Keep in mind, a lot, this goes back to, not to bring up the Ukraine and Putin, but, so much of what foreign leaders say, especially in these despotic countries, isn't really intended for a Western audience as much as it is intended to send a message to the elites in their own country and their own citizens. So in this case, President Xi has constituencies in the People's Liberation Army, their military, the party secretary area, and they're people that they have to satisfy to make themselves look like the good guy and shape a narrative. And so I think that's what this is. They don't really give a hoot what we think about this, but this is designed to shape public opinion both at the popular level and at the elite level inside of China.
How much of a national security failure is this, though, John? Because, I mean, this thing was able to drift for a long time, and it was only first spotted by, I think I read, a passenger on board an aircraft, a passenger aircraft.
Well, that's when it became public. We don't know exactly when it was spotted. And the military isn't necessarily going to disclose that, because to disclose that would tell the Chinese a great deal about our capabilities. And so they're going to be very circumspect about that. The government did want to keep this secret. That's come out now and it's pretty clear. Part maybe it's for public relations, political reasons, which I strongly suspect. It also would conceal the capabilities of American surveillance assets. So there's two reasons why they'd want to keep it secret. So we don't know exactly when it was detected. And to shoot it down early is to tell the Chinese essentially when we detected it. And that gives them information about how and what we're capable of.
That makes sense. And just finally here, what do you think this does to US-China relations?
I think that right now, certainly Anthony Blinken is not going to go to China. It makes it more difficult for the Biden administration to publicly make nice with the Chinese. We have this chip conflict where we're restricting the flow of high-end chips to China that Japan and the Netherlands have signed on to, and that's a real concern to the Chinese. So this isn't going to help China's cause at all in the long run. And I think that this may be kind of, this balloon incident may have been driven by different factions of the Chinese government, but that's going to play out. We'll have to find out what it is.